I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond. Join me every Sunday between 3 and 4 on Radio Modiin as we take a look at what's happening in Modiin, Israel, and beyond. I really have to change that intro because it's not Sunday. It is, in fact, Tuesday. I'm Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond on Radio Modiin. And I missed you guys last week. I was in South Africa. Glad to be back in Israel. Hey, Michael, I like the simple things in life like electricity and water. Nevertheless, welcome to another edition of Modiin and Beyond. And I wish you could smell the studio because we have our whiskey expert in the studio, Michael Horesh from Whiskey Tasters, with two absolutely superb whiskeys. We're going to be talking Whiskey Live and seeing what is new on the Israeli whiskey scene. And I'm getting these wonderful peaty aromas drifting across the desk to me. We will also be speaking to Shaun, senior researcher at NGO Monitor, all about IRA. IRA is not a person, but what is it? Stay tuned to find out. And then we will be getting a sporting update from our sports correspondent, Follow Team Israel's David Wiseman. And just a reminder, if you want to sponsor a slot or if you want to advertise on Radio Modiin, please be in touch with us via our website at www.radiomodiin.co.il. And if you have an event coming up that you want me to talk about on my show, don't forget to email me at rolenemarks@yahoo.com. Now, it's that time of the month. We have a big event coming up. You know, we are passionate about our whiskey. We do love that water of life. A huge welcome to our resident whiskey expert from Whiskey Tasters. It is Michael Horesh.
Thank you, Rolene. Thank you. And good to be back here. And since the last time, we've been invited back to Modiin to do an event, a whiskey tasting event in Modiin shortly after Sukkot. So we're very pleased to be here.
Well, what can I say? We Modiiners love our whiskey, and you're going to tell us exactly how to be in touch with you if you want to book your whiskey event. Whiskey tastings are great fundraisers and just great social events.
They are wonderful. They bring people together. You share experience. You share the fun. People do not go away crying. They go away happy, laughing, smiling, wanting to come back again. How do you reach us? With www.whiskytasters.co or simply call me 0523 448 453.
Now, you have some absolute incredible whiskies in studio today. Always something new and special. Let's talk about whiskey in Israel. We were chatting about new concepts in distillery, and I know that Israel is one of a few countries that has a license to distill whiskey.
Very much so. So what we have coming up this week is the big event Whiskey Live, which doesn't take place in every country around the world, but we're very fortunate. The Milk and Honey are big sponsors of this event. It's starting tomorrow night in Tel Aviv, in Ganei Tarucha, the exhibition center, 2 nights. And basically anyone to do with whiskey in Israel is going to be there. Each year, it's been on for about 7-8 years now, and each year it gets bigger and better, I believe. And there are going to be many of the main distillers, manufacturers, producers from abroad, from Scotland, going to be taking stands at the event.
Amazing.
I think before we talk maybe about the what's going on the Israel scene, and I've got a lot to tell people about that. I think there's one stand that I'd like to pick out there of those coming from abroad, and they deserve a special mention. And these are the people from Loch Lomond. Now, Loch Lomond is a lake just north of Glasgow. They have a beautiful distillery there, very well run. If you can get hold of their 18-year-old, it is one of the best priced in that range in this country. Absolutely sweet. Why do I pick them out? Because when Whiskey Live was last held in Israel, sort of on the back of Corona, They were one of the few, if maybe the only distillery to send a representative over here. And I thank them for that. And they deserve a special mention for backing Israel.
Well, I second that. Anybody who backs Israel, especially our whiskey scene, and especially during difficult times, deserves a special mention from us.
Okay, so getting into the local scene, I'd like to point out two new things that are happening. Now, we all know about Milk and Honey, and many people will also know about Golani and Yerushalmi. But I'd like to refer to two newer places. One in particular, I just met them late last week. They're called the Patriarchs. They are simply just starting up. They're based in the Gush Etzion area. What they did was they simply set up a stilling process in their kitchen. These are people, Yosef Ortega, Yair, and Gidon Lang. They simply set up a distilling process in their kitchen. They bottled it. They stored it for about 9 months. They even added some peat through a very unique method that I won't talk about because
Okay,
I can't.
top secret.
Secret.
We're not going to disclose anything here.
And the next stage is they will be out to raise money. It's a phenomenal thing to see. Now, on a higher level, let's go over to, people know them as Shevet Brewery up in Zichron Yaakov, Pardes Chana area. Now, they are managed by a team run through Neil Wasserman. And they have set up, in addition to the beer, they have set up an operation called Ruach. Now, Ruach in Hebrew means spirit, so it's a play on the word. Now, they will be at Whisky Live, and they won't be there with their bottles because it is that new that the 6-year-old spirit that's coming out of the cask is still in the cask. So you will be able to taste it for the first time this week. Now, what is special about this? Well, first of all, everything there is done to quality. I went to the distillery about a month ago. Neil took me around. He was the perfect host. Now, what they have, and this is what's really cool, the whiskey starts off in a bourbon cask for about 65% of the time. Then it's transferred, and I think the cask comes from Buffalo Trace, if I'm not mistaken. Then it's transferred into a new cask, a virgin oak cask, for about 35% of the time. And then comes the added little splash. It's transferred into a cognac cask, a kosher cognac cask from France. And it's going to be bottled at around 49%, 48, 49%. The tasting notes that I've received, and I say I haven't tasted yet, are very good. I won't spill the beans exactly on what. Please go to Whisky Live, taste it out of the cask. You'll get cask strength, first fill. Enjoy. Neil's a great guy.
Perfect for that Shabbat after dinner aperitif and for your kiddush the next day. And let me tell you something, great things have come out of kitchens. Everybody's talking about Golda, the movie. And as we know, Golda started the Knesset in her kitchen. So if great things can start in the kitchen for Golda Meir, imagine what they can do for whiskey distillery.
Absolutely. Now, I'd like to sort of turn our attention to another new trend in the whiskey world, and that's private bottling. Many people may have heard of Cadenheads or Cadenheads, depending on how you pronounce it. What we've got here, and this is what I'm going to offer you to taste, and I can see you can't wait.
Twist my arm.
Ouch.
That peaty scent drifting across at me, it's calling my name. And what beautiful branding.
So absolutely. I mean, I wrote to them last night and mentioned this very specific point, that they've really taken their time with the labeling, with the logo, etc. And the box is a very unique box. It looks to be also not too heavy, so they're trying to do a bit on the recycling, etc. Now, this is a company called DS Tayman, Tayman. I believe the D stands for Danny Saltman and the S stands for Saul Taylor. And they got together, I think they're school boy friends, Danny, who I've known for about 8-10 years now, he's been in the alcohol trade, working his way up for about 15 years. And about 2 or 3 years ago, they got together, formed a company, and started going around Scotland scouring for the best casks available. And they have put together 2 or 3 collections. The collection that's readily available here in Israel is called Tulip. Why Tulip? Well, I'll explain in a moment. But first of all, what I want to do is, so they've got casks from 4 different distilleries. If I get it right, Glen Elgin, Blair Athol, Linkwood, which we have here, and Cale Isla, which we have here. Now, I give you one to taste.
If I must.
You must.
Look at that.
Okay.
Beautiful color.
Now, note the color. The color's unusual. Why is the color unusual? Because having spent about almost 10 years in a bourbon cask, I think it's a refill hogsheads cask, if I can get the words out properly.
Get this on camera nicely.
Okay, we can put that there somewhere up there. Note that it's not a typical sort of golden brown. There's something extra there. And that's because it spent about 2 years, I think it's about 28 months to be precise, in a Syrah wine cask, which comes from a distillery called Tulip.
Okay, so there we have that connection. And then it's got a very subtle bouquet.
Well, bouquet being the right word, because it's a kind of Bordeaux type wine. It's called a flamme cask, which is a Bordeaux type. So you're getting the smell, a very sweet smell, almost chocolatey. Someone described it as.
It's very sweet and very, very smooth.
If you let it roll across all your tongue, you're getting smooth. You're getting, dare I say, berry fruits, a little bit of citrusy. People have said different things. Your taste buds are unique. They really are unique. And by the way, we replace our taste buds every 10 days. You're going to have to try this every 10 days.
Just as well, because, we have you in every month. We need to replenish those taste buds. I see.
So
the air is licking his lips behind the scenes.
Anyway, this really...
It's got a very fragrant aftertaste.
The sort of the finish is very smooth. You have to take a moment to think about it. I felt at the beginning there wasn't quite a finish, and then as the seconds went on, I could feel it gradually, slowly enjoying its way down the throat, so to speak, at the back of the throat.
It is almost like a good wine that still has that beautiful aftertaste. A good,
absolutely.
L'chaim to the guys. Well done, guys.
Now, what we're going to have to do is here I'm going to give you, in contrast, as I say, that's for you.
I'll swap. I'll see you.
Yes.
I'll raise you one of those. Okay.
So now this one we have from Cale Isla.
Such a beautiful PT.
Now, the moment you smell this, you smell Cale Isla, which is on the island of Isla on the northeastern coast. One of the largest manufacturer distiller up there. And you can smell it.
I'm also getting a different kind of smoke smell.
It is slightly sweet. It's not overpowering like Ardbeg or Lafroig. And you want to smell more, and then you want to drink.
That is so subtle. It's fruity. It's so incredibly smooth.
Now, to get all of these, their whole range is 46%, no added coloring, non-chilled filters, so it's natural whiskey. The fruits here, again, there's fruits coming through. The more I think about it, the more fruits that are coming into my mind. Thoroughly enjoying it. Now, it's not just me and you who've enjoyed this, because these whiskeys, as I said, they got together in, I think it was 2020. In 2021, they both these whiskies won awards at the World Whisky Awards.
I can see why.
I think the Carlisle, if I'm not mistaken, got a silver mention. Now, the actual company, that there's a parent company, is Dalkeith Brokerage, doing very well. And they are distributed in Israel, I think exclusively by Bana Mashkaot. That's Bana Mashkaot. Now, the reason I mention this is, first of all, by the way, Danny will be in Israel. He's traveling overnight tonight, going straight to Ganei Tarucha tomorrow to set up. So the DS Taman will be having a store there. He's going to be doing a tasting session on Thursday evening. Now, how do you get to that? How do you get to Whisky Live? Well, Bana Mashkaot have said to me the following. Go on their website. If you order anything from DS Taman, there will be a click-through, or sorry, they will be told to send you, whoever you is, a ticket free to get into Whisky Live. The cost of the ticket is approximately 140 or 150 shekels.
I think that is a great deal.
I can honestly recommend this Carlisle. It's the first time I tasted it was this week, and basically you can't see the bottle, but the bottle's going quickly.
Well, I can see why. Guys, if you are watching, it's extremely Moorish. I think this is the perfect date to end a day on, to sit with a wee dram of this. This is beautiful. For those of us who like the PT, and there are many of us, and you don't want anything that's overpowering, it's so smooth. This is gorgeous.
It really does, dare I say it, blend all the different influences of the peat, of the fruits from the wine. You've got this fresh cask coming through. Carlisle are obviously, they're not exactly novices in this game. They've produced a great, great cask. The bottle itself is a beautiful bottle. I love what they've done here with the fonts, and you can see exactly the number of the bottle, when it was distilled, when it was bottled. The cask number is here. All the details are here, incredibly transparent. So I commend them for that.
And those details to enter to get a ticket to Whisky Live?
I checked it myself this morning before coming here. It's Bana Mashkaot, Bana Mashkaot. You click through it. The site's in Hebrew, but it's very simple. I did it myself. Click through, you go whiskies, you go mutag, which means which one. You go DS Taman, order which one you want. I just recommend, again, the blue one.
Outstanding.
And then you will get a note. They will call you back with your ticket.
And Michael, a reminder to our listeners how they can find Whiskey Tasters and book you for an event. Oof, I have to be vaguely coherent for the rest of the show, but
Well,
this is so tempting.
David is a good friend of mine with his follow team Israel, so I want you to be absolutely coherent for him. You can get hold of me, Whiskey Tasters, www.whiskytasters.co, our website, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're posting regularly. Looking forward to being back and doing an event in Modiin. And any corporate events, we'd love to see you as well.
Well, we can't wait to have you back in studio. Michael Horesh, Whiskey Tasters, and the incredible offerings from DS Taman. We're going to take a short music break. On the other side of this, hopefully I'm coherent for this.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Yeah.
Slanjema.
Slanjema.
On the other side of this, Shaun Sachs from NGO Monitor.
goes down, the night rolls in. You can feel it starting all over again. Your mood comes up and the music calls. You're getting tired of staring at the same four walls. You're out of your room and down the street, moving through the crowd in the midnight heat. The traffic roars, the sirens scream. Look at the faces, it's just like a dream. Nobody knows where you're going. Nobody cares where you've been. 'Cause you belong to the city. You belong to the night. Living in a river of darkness beneath the neon light. You were born in the city. Concrete under your feet. It's in your bones. It's in your blood. You're a man of the street. When you said goodbye, you were on the run, trying to get away from the things you've done. Now you're back again, and you're feeling strange. So much has happened, that nothing has changed. Still don't know where you're going. You're still just a face in the crowd. You belong to the city. You belong to the night. Living in a river of darkness beneath the neon light. You were born in the city. Concrete under your feet. It's in your blood. It's in your moves. You're a man of the street. You can feel it. You can taste it. You can see it. You can face it. You can hear it. Hey, you're getting near it. Hey, you wanna make it. 'Cause you can take it. You belong to the city. You belong to the night. You belong to the city.
You belong to the city, Glenn Fry. You belong to Modiin on radio. Modiin, this is Modiin and Beyond with me, Rolene Marks. And just a reminder, if you want your events advertised on the show, please email me at rolenemarks@yahoo.com. And don't forget, if you want to promote your business, you can advertise with us. Be in touch with us via our website at www.radiomodiin.co.il. Now, as we've spoken about many times on this show, anti-Semitism is rising around the world. Now, years ago, a group of academics, leaders, and various others who are leaders in the fight against anti-Semitism came together to define and to write the definition by which we determine what exactly is anti-Semitism. It is the IRA definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. And here to help me unpack it and to discuss those who could be opposed to it is the senior researcher for NGO Monitor, Shaun. Shaun, welcome back to Modiin and Beyond.
Hi, good morning, Rolene. How are you?
A little bit shicker because we've just had a whiskey tasting in studio, but always good to talk to you.
Great way to start the morning. Yeah.
I know you are a whiskey lover too. Now, Shaun, we're talking about IRA, and NGO Monitor has just published a report on those NGOs and those organizations that are pushing or resisting against us. Let's just talk a little bit exactly what exactly is IRA. I gave a very, very brief definition, but I think let's get a more in-depth definition from you.
Right. So, like many other problems around the world, especially when it comes to intolerance, racism, or anti-Semitism, one of the most important tools that we need is a definition of the problem. So, it's rather than just throw out words like anti-Semitism or Jew hatred. One of the early ideas was to come up with this very, very practical tool to define what is anti-Semitism. And this was set up by an organization called the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the IHRA, and it included experts from diplomacy, academia, and international relations and Jewish studies from around the world. And after many years, they came up with a very succinct definition of anti-Semitism that includes 11 examples of anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
And these examples include things like calling for or justifying the harming or killing of Jews, calling Judaism a radical religion, denying the Holocaust, denying the scope of the Holocaust, accusing Jews of having dual loyalties, denying Jews the right to self-determination. Another example is using symbols associated with Nazis with regards to Jews, drawing comparisons between Israel and the Nazis, and holding the Jews collectively responsible for the actions of Israel.
Now, let's just talk about Israel for a second, because we see some criticism of IRA because there are those Israel's detractors who say that criticism is not allowed. Criticism against the state of Israel is not allowed, that the IRA definition says that it is anti-Semitic. However, if you read the definition, it makes very clear that criticism of Israeli policies is democratic. I mean, it's the national sport of Israel. You and I have discussed it a few times, but let's just clarify. IRA does allow for criticism of the state of Israel, but where is the line where it becomes anti-Semitic?
Okay, so actually, IRA itself, in its definition, actually answers that exact question, and that's one of the most interesting things about this current attack on on IRA, which we'll get to in a few minutes, is the IRA definition realizes that there is going to be needs to create a very clear line between criticism of Israel and when that criticism becomes anti-Semitic. So in the definition, it actually says, I'm going to quote this to you, criticism of Israel similar to that leveled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitism. So IRA acknowledges that. And it actually says, you want to criticize Israel, even Israel as a country, even not only just the policy, go ahead. You can criticize Israel. You can criticize the United States. You can criticize South Africa. You can criticize the United Kingdom, just like every other country. The difference is when you come and say Israel is a racist country and shouldn't exist. Israel is a Nazi country. That is the line. And it's very clear. Once you say Israel as a Jewish state cannot exist, should not exist, or is wrong, then you've crossed the line. But you want to criticize Israel, Israeli policy, the Israeli government, even the Israelis, go ahead.
Now, let's talk about the pushback to IRA because, from a layperson's point of view, you've got this clear definition, what determines anti-Semitism. This is the gold standard. To me, it seems inconceivable that any NGO, any government, any organization, any university, and I see today a headline in the Allgemeine saying that UK universities are resisting adopting the IRA definition of anti-Semitism. To me, it's logical. If you are dedicated to the fight against racism, discrimination, and anti-Semitism, adopting IRA is a no-brainer. So who is pushing back and why? Shaun's a bit frozen there.
It should be.
There we go.
Unfortunately, what we've seen over the last 20 years is can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, hi. Sorry about that. So what we've seen over the last 20 years is, and the Israel discourse has been the anti-Israel discourse
We seem to be having a few connection.
has been
there we go.
adopted by the human rights community and the NGO community. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now perfectly.
Hello?
You're saying
Okay,
the pushback has been adopted by human rights organizations.
Right. So even before this, if we go back 20 years ago when the major campaigns against Israel started, much of the language was adopted by the human rights and the NGO community, where attacking Israel, even using the most outrageous attacks against Israel, Israelis are Nazis. Even things like Israelis are purposely maiming and murdering Palestinian children. This language was adopted by people calling themselves human rights activists. And the idea that Israel needs to be uniquely targeted as an evil country became a human rights issue. And not just any human rights organizations. We're talking about organizations like Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. They signed on to this idea that Israel needs to be uniquely targeted and specifically targeted. And the idea of a Jewish state is bad, and Israel needs to be boycotted. So once this already became part of the human rights discourse, it was only a matter of time before many organizations, many more sinister organizations, began using the exact same language that used to be targeted against Jews, like Jews are bleeding people dry, Jews drink blood, Jews are uniquely evil. All of this was now adopted and said, well, not Jews, Israel, Israelis, Zionism. So Zionism becomes a uniquely evil concept around the world. And the shift from blaming Jews to blaming Zionism became a great cover for a lot of organizations to say, no, we're not anti-Semitic, we're anti-Zionist, and anti-Zionist is fine. And even though they clearly crossed, if we can say, crossed the line, as long as they were able to maintain that and say, well, we're only anti-Israeli or we're just using Zionism, you could even claim you're upholding human rights. And the significant change was made when the IRA definition came out and said, well, no, you can't keep using this inflammatory language and expect to be able to be called a human rights activist. You're actually, the idea is to call it what it is. Once you start using the same negative language against Jews and say, well, no, it's just anti-Zionism, that actually is anti-Semitism. And the point was to adopt IRA so that you have a very clear standard, a very clear definition. And this line between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism is made very clear with the IRA definition. The reason there's so much pushback is because there are many in academia, in trade unions, and in the human rights community that don't want there to be a clear definition. They don't want there to be a clear line, because that means a lot of the language that they use, a lot of the people they associate with, are now openly going to be acknowledged as anti-Semites.
That's holding a mirror up to their language, to their type of discourse.
Exactly. And what human rights organization wants to acknowledge that they are employing anti-Semites. No human rights organization wants to actually acknowledge that they're using the language of somebody who's quite openly using defamatory language against Jews. No one in academia today wants to be associated with anti-Semitism. So the answer is, rather than root out anti-Semitism, it's let's root out anything that defines us as anti-Semitic. Labor unions that are supposed to represent people don't want to be called anti-Semites. So their answer is, well, we'll just root out anything that calls us anti-Semitism. So unfortunately, what we've seen is rather than become a tool to fight anti-Semitism, organizations are fighting the tools to fight anti-Semitism.
How ironic that they call themselves human rights organizations. Now, Shaun, in our remaining minutes, NGO Monitor work tirelessly, and thank goodness for organizations like yours to expose these human rights organizations, these NGOs, for their hypocrisy and their anti-Semitism. You've just released a report. Where can our viewers, where can our listeners find it?
So our report, which details all of the campaigns against the IRA definition across the world, from the United States to Europe, in academia, at the United Nations, at human rights, at various different councils around the world, can be found on our website, ngo-monitor.org/NGO campaign IRA. And I encourage anybody who's experienced anti-Semitism around the world, whether it's in the workplace or international, come take a look at our website and see exactly how we're fighting back against people who are trying to defend anti-Semitism, as bizarre as that sounds.
Especially for students, people in the workplace, because we know that anti-Semitism has become epidemic. Many people don't realize that there are legal mechanisms, there are ways of fighting back, and the resources that NGO Monitor provides helps with that fight. So if you can give those website details again.
So as I said, it's ngo-monitor.org/NGO campaign IRA. And I encourage everyone to take a look. And if anybody wants, I'm sure I will send you the link and they can contact me directly. And I will be very happy to provide information and resources to anybody who is facing issues of anti-Semitism.
Shaun Sachs, Senior Researcher at NGO Monitor. Thank you for the sterling work that you and your organization are doing. And I wish you were in studio with me, because we still have some leftover whiskey. I know you are a whiskey fan, and we could drink a toast, Shana Tova, to the new year and to the extraordinary work that you are doing. This is Modiin and Beyond on Radio Modiin. We're going to take another short music break. On the other side of this, stay tuned for your sports details.
כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, כשתישרט לי כמו כל החברים שלך, אל תתקשר אליי. איפה היית כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, גם אם בסוף תבין שאין בזה ברכה, אל תתקשר אליי. היית לב שלי, היית כל העולם, כי ככה זה איתך, חוזר ושוב נעלם, ואין עוד פעם, כי מה הדם, שתזייף לי אהבה בלילות. היית בא אליי, היית בא בחלום, תראה אותך עכשיו, כבר לא אומר לי שלום, תגיד לי למה, תמיד זה ככה, אתה מחפש אותי פתאום בלילות. איפה היית כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, שתישרט לי כמו כל החברים שלך, אל תתקשר אליי. איפה היית כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, גם אם בסוף תבין שאין בזה ברכה, אל תתקשר אליי. נגמר לי האוויר, נשמתי רק בשבילך, עכשיו תרקוד לבד, או עם האגו שלך, אולי טעיתי, על מה בכיתי, חבל על כל דמעה שלי מלוכה. איפה היית כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, שתישרט לי כמו כל החברים שלך, אל תתקשר אליי. איפה היית כשהייתי צריכה אותך, איפה היית כשהייתי פה בשבילך, גם אם בסוף תבין שאין בזה ברכה, אל תתקשר אליי.
Hello? Can you hear me?
כשהייתי צריכה אותך.
For Hait Sarit Haddad. And before we talk to David Wiseman from Follow Team Israel, just some notice of upcoming events. Don't forget the municipal elections on the 31st of October. You shall be receiving your voting cards pretty soon. There will be a screening of J'accuse, that is the movie that takes a look at Lithuanian complicity during the Holocaust. That is coming up on the 22nd of October. And women's empowerment in business, hey, that's a cause I can firmly get behind, is coming up for the 20th of October. Those details still coming. Now, with me on the line is Sam Wiseman. He is our sports correspondent. He is from Follow Team Israel. But just before we speak to Sam, I just want to pay tribute today to the 11 Israeli athletes and coaches that were murdered 52 years ago today at the 1972 Munich Olympics. We cannot forget that on the very soil where just decades ago Jews were targeted for extermination, and at the very Olympics, that is a celebration of brotherhood and sportsmanship, 11 athletes were targeted by the Palestinian terrorist group Black September and brutally slaughtered. Today, we remember them, as we will every single year. Now, with me on the line from Follow Team Israel is our sports correspondent, David Wiseman. Welcome back to Modiin and beyond.
Thanks for having me, Rolene. Pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to chat to you. Now, what has been happening lately in Israeli sports? It seems to be a very good year.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff happening recently. Just to sort of give you a taste, our men's under-17 flag football team just won a gold medal at the European Championships, which was very exciting. Valerie Kramer, a climber, won a silver medal in a Europe Cup event. I believe that's the first time we've won a climbing medal there. And also our women, for those card players who like to play bridge, our women won the World Bridge Championships, which was very exciting. In rhythmic gymnastics, they just had the World Championship last week. We won 2 gold medals and 1 bronze.
Incredible.
So Daria Atamanov won bronze in the all-round individual. Our team also won gold in the all-round team and also in the 3 ribbons and 2 balls. And also, it's been a great time for us this summer in hosting events. So we just hosted the European Under-20 Athletics Championship. There's 2 events that are in the middle of happening and one starting today. So the events happening now is the World Junior Swimming Championships, started in Netanya yesterday. So basically all the incredible swimmers that we're going to see at the Olympics in LA 2028, Brisbane 2032, they're here in Israel competing, which is remarkable. The European Volleyball Championships are happening right now in Israel. Israel's one of the hosts, and they have a big game today against Turkey. If they win that, they advance to the round of 16. Also in Jerusalem, at the Sultan's Pool, starting today, is a 3x3 basketball tournament, which actually also serves as an Olympic qualifier for both men's and women's. So that's going to be very cool down at the Sultan's Pool in terms of what they're doing there. So that's what's been happening. I'm just touching on a few things. And now also I want to discuss what's happening next.
Now, before we get to that, I have a very, very important message to you from Michael Horesh. He is our resident whiskey expert. He says, and I'm not taking sides here, he says, England will win the Ashes. Don't shoot the messenger, just passing it on.
Okay.
No
enough.
commitment from the Aussie there. Okay, just saying.
Yeah.
So tell us what we can expect next, because 2023 seems to be the year that has put Israeli sports firmly on the map.
Yeah. So Maccabi Haifa didn't qualify for the Champions League. They made it to the sort of the second tournament, the Europa League, and they're in a group with Villarreal, Spanish side, Rennes, a team from France, and Panathinaikos, a Greek side. So they'll going to play the round robin for the next couple of months, and then if they make the top two, that'll advance to the knockout stage. And also Maccabi Tel Aviv qualified for the Europa Conference League, which is the third tier competition, and they're with Ghent from Belgium, Zoria Lunatsk, an Ukrainian side, and an Icelandic team that I won't pronounce. Staying on football or soccer, if you will, Manos Solomon is playing for Tottenham, and they've started the season really well. So it's sort of great to see him playing there, contributing, which is great. And also recently, Daniel Peretz, the goalkeeper, moved to Bayern Munich, which was also a great sign of that a young, talented players being picked up by the big teams. In a couple of weeks, Israel is going to be hosting Davis Cup tennis against Japan, which is going to be great. That's happening here in Tel Aviv. 2 men and 2 women, 4 weightlifters, just flew to Saudi Arabia, of all places.
Oh, that's incredible.
For the World Weightlifting Championships. So like I said, 2 men, 2 women representing Israel then, and that's going to be fantastic. And happening at the end of the month, we've got the European Baseball Championships in the Czech Republic. Israel won silver last time, so it's going to be great to sort of see how they do this time. You know, obviously baseball, they've really put themselves on the map the last sort of 5 to 6 years with their performances, and they've just gone from strength to strength.
This is awesome to see. Now, before we let you go, the Olympics are just a year away. We opened the show paying tribute to the Israeli athletes and coaches that were brutally murdered some 50 years ago today. But, we remember them, and to honor their memory, we make sure that we perform to the best of our abilities in the Olympics. Now, that is just a year away. How is that looking? What are we looking at qualifying in?
So there's already a team of 41 across 6 sports. And just to give you some context, in 2016 was our biggest ever Olympic team at the time, and that was only 47 athletes. So we're sort of almost getting to where we were at 2016. Our biggest team was for 2020, 90 athletes. And we're going to get close, I think, to sort of beating that, getting to 100. So obviously it's been bolstered by soccer or football, an 18 person squad. So that's 18 of the 41. In athletics, we've already qualified 3 men's marathon runners, not yet determined who they'll be. And in the women's side, with Lona Chemtai-Solpeter has confirmed her spot in the women's marathon. And Lona finished 4th at the recent World Championships in the marathon, and Maru Teferi actually won silver. So we've never won an Olympic medal in track and field, and who knows, like if that continues, we could really go close. Equestrian is going to be back for the second time after qualifying last time in team jumping and individual jumping. Gymnastics, in the rhythmic gymnastics, Daria, who I mentioned before, who won a medal in the individual, she's qualified a spot, and also the team has qualified a spot. Then we've got some sailors and some swimmers. But you can expect, as sort of it gets closer to Paris and there's more like qualification is secured, judo obviously, and archery probably, and all the badminton and all the other sports that we've been to in the past, and potentially for the first time we could be sending some climbers. I mentioned Valerie before, and also skateboarders potentially for the first time.
Well, if shopping was an Olympic sport, I would qualify for that. David and his team at Follow Team Israel will be keeping us up to date during the Olympics and in the run-up to the Olympics. Where can we find you guys?
Primarily on Facebook, so facebook.com/Follow Team Israel. Also on Instagram by the same name. That's where you'll find us.
Well, we stand firmly behind Team Israel. And that's going to be it from me for today on Modiin and Beyond. A huge thank you to our guests, our resident whiskey expert, Michael Horesh from Whiskey Tasters, keeping us pleasantly lubricated, Shaun Sachs from NGO Monitor, and our resident sports correspondent, David Wiseman from Follow Team Israel. And a massive thank you to the man who makes it all happen. He's behind the scenes, Pe'er Atia, playing the music, twiddling the knobs, maintaining the connections, and making sure that I behave myself. And a massive thank you to you as well for listening to Radio Modiin and Beyond. I'm Rolene Marks. Tune in next Tuesday between 10 and 11 right here on Radio Modiin. I'm out of here. Have a great day.
רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים, רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים.
מתחם עסקים חדש הנבנה בימים אלו בעיר מודיעין, כולל 8 קומות של משרדים ומסחר. המשרדים תוכננו לניצול מרבי של החלל, עם חלונות זכוכית העוטפים את הבניין, ואפשרות חלוקה למשרדים קטנים הפונים לנוף.
בעיר מודיעין.
שלטק מודיעין הוא מתחם עבודה שיתופי ליזמים וחברות. בשלטק תמצאו עמדות עבודה אישיות, משרדים סגורים, חדרי ישיבות מרווחים, מרחבי הדרכה משודרגים, בקיצור, כל מה שעסק בצמיחה צריך. שלטק, עסקים שגדלים יחד.
טרייד סטיישן, אפליקציית המסחר זוכת הפרסים. לסחור רק עם הטוב ביותר. אליט פלטפורמס, המקבצה הפיננסית שלכם.
תקומו עם רשת איטית במשרד ובבית, או שאין מספיק קליטה ברשת האלחוטית? מפחדים שאין לכם הגנה מספיקה לבית ולעסק שלכם? שואלים את עצמכם, למה החשמל נופל לי כל הזמן? פיסיקו מחשבים, חשמל ותקשורת, היא הפתרון האולטימטיבי לעסק ולבית שלכם. עם ניסיון של 22 שנה בתחום המתח הנמוך והגבוה, נותנים לכם מענה בכל הקשור לכל עבודות החשמל בבית ובעסק שלכם. פתרונות אבטחה מתקדמות, מצלמות אבטחה, הדקות, אינטרזום ובקרות כניסה. הקמה ושידור רשת המחשבים והאינטרנט שלכם בעסק ובבית. התקשרו עוד היום ל-05-25-75-75-81. פיסיקו מחשבים, פתרונות משרדיים במקום אחד. תנו לניסיון לדבר.